A typical conversation in my junior high went something like this. Ugh, boys are so stupid. Why are all men such pigs? There are literally no good guys out there. So dramatic. Unfortunately, this perspective has not only crept into our junior high schools, but also into our society, and especially into our media. It has slithered and dived deep into our culture under the guise of feminism, that we call it humor, woman power, maybe even comeuppance. Its name is misandry. Misandry, or the dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men, should be eradicated in our interactions, and at least recognized as a problem in our media. I want to show how feminism, taken to the extreme, can turn into misandry. I will detail a little bit more about how misandry has crept into our media, and lastly, I'll give some common guidelines on how we can eradicate it from our interactions. So first, feminism. I consider myself a feminist. That is, if you define feminism like Google does, as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. However, feminism expresses itself in a number of ways, some of which actually don't really foster true equality. Radical feminism, or feminism taken to the extreme, may see men as the inferior species and believe that society would benefit as a whole if there were fewer men altogether. Might I suggest that this radical form of feminism has been creeping into our media and even into our interactions? I'll give 3 examples of how this radical feminism turned misandry has been creeping into our media. And with each example, I will invite you to take a walk in a man's shoes, to reverse the sexes and see how we feel. If there's any discomfort or discontent there, with that reversal of the sexes, we'll know that that example is most likely leaning more toward misandry. So, first example, a hot topic among millennials like us as BYU students is this concept of ghosting. So ghosting is pulling the disappearing act to break things off with someone. Now, we all have probably been affected by ghosting in one way or another, but there's several negative effects. And Bustle magazine did a study, and they found that women were more than 150% more likely to ghost than men were. However, rather than explaining these negative effects of such behavior, Bustle magazine goes on to say that women's ghosting behavior is actually the fault of the patriarchal society, and that women shouldn't have to worry about those fragile masculine egos. Now, let's take a walk in a man's shoes and reverse the sexes. If the sexes were reversed and men were the ones ghosting 150% more, but their behavior was blamed on women, telling women that it wasn't a man's job for them to protect those fragile feminine egos, we would have a major problem. In this example, with that discomfort and with it being a problem, we can know that this is probably leaning more toward misandry. In our interactions, let's recommit to live the golden rule, to treat others the way that we want to be treated, to treat others, man or women, the way we want to be treated. My second example comes from popular music videos such as Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats, which details a woman getting revenge after being cheated on by trashing her man's car. Now, I'm not advocating for cheating in any way, but in the words of a Studio C song, women in this society supposedly can get their revenge by committing a violent felony. I'm a girl, it's okay, they say. Now, if the sexes were reversed in this situation, and the woman did the cheating, and the man violently trashed her car, we would have a major problem. In our interactions, let's remember that violent felonies and behaviors seeking to harm another person, no matter the gender, are not okay. My third example stems from popular TV sitcoms and movies that negatively portray men. One male journalist with Telegraph newspaper said, "I am a man, and I'm not an idiot. I'm not daft or bumbling or childlike or sweetly stupid. I don't get outwitted by small children or consumer electronics. People don't roll their eyes or smile indulgently at my attempts to function in normal society. And yet, if you were to form your opinion of the male species through the examples presented on TV, you'd think I wasn't a man at all. From completely idiotic Homer Simpson to the sweetly stupid Michael Scott and his gullible sidekick Dwight Schrute. Depicting men in this negative light is everywhere. In basically every TV sitcom, men are portrayed this way. Now, if we were to reverse the sexes and portray women in a quite offensive way, just as we portray men in this quite offensive way here, and just as some TV shows did portray women that way in the mid-1900s, we would have a major problem. In our interactions, let's make a commitment to recognize that all men are not dumb, bumbling fools, just as media suggests, that boys are not stupid, so we shouldn't throw rocks at them, just as media suggests. I urge each of you to be fierce advocates for the respect of all individuals, women and men, no matter what the current culture leans towards. Misandry, or the dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men should be eradicated from our interactions and be at least recognized as a problem in our media. Equality of the sexes doesn't have to include pushing men down. In the world we live in, it is possible to be a feminist, to fight for equality of the sexes, and to still recognize that there are men who are wonderful, capable, and who deserve respect, just as women do. Thank you.